Let's hear it. Come on, give it to them.
Yeah!
So, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. So I'm walking through the kitchen. I've been in the car since 3:45. And there's this row you could see of just cooked cookies. Just baked cookies. So the devil over here said, keep walking. And the angel over here said, no, Jeanine, you can't take them. Then the devil said, you know what? Take a few. It won't matter. Petty larceny doesn't matter anymore. We live in a country where most people don't even want law and order. But anyway, so here I am, and thank you very much for having me. I want to thank Chairman Gilmore. I was with him and many of you last summer, or about 20 of you. How many was it? Yeah, about 25. And I want to thank the other people responsible, Jerry, as well as Robin, Frank, and Carmen, running for office, who run for office, people who support our agenda. I want to take about 20 minutes, and I want to talk to you because it's extremely important that we keep the lead that Donald Trump had in 2016, where the victory margin in this county was 93,000 votes. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We are living now in very, very tenuous times. I said this before the election in 2016, but it's worse now. Right now, we are living in a country divided. And this past Saturday night, I never thought I'd have to talk about him again, but he just decided to show up. So on my open, in my show, Justice, I had to do an open on Barack Obama. Barack, why are you back? All right, you had your 2 terms, you had your moment in the sun, and like every ex-president, have some dignity and respect your successor. But not this guy. If you think about it, everything bad during his administration was attributable to the guy before him, George Bush. And everything good in his successor is attributable to him. I mean, nothing that this man believes in represents what I think is important in this country. And that is law and order, truth and justice, that flag, the Americanism and the nationalism that we should all feel as being part of this country, as well as the fact that this is a sovereign nation. We are not a globalist landing for anyone from any part of the world. And I often think when I hear people talk about, the United States, when I hear Barack Obama, this isn't who we are. I know who I am. You know who you are. I know this country is the most charitable country on the face of the earth, without a doubt. And yet, we're not Christian enough, and we're not charitable enough if we don't just let everybody in, irrespective of the vetting. And you know what I think is a hoot? When I was a prosecutor, and George talked about this, I've been a prosecutor, a judge, and a DA over 3 decades, more than 3 decades. I ran for office 5 times. I get it. But the idea that these people should be able to come in here, live anywhere they want, we don't even know who they are, just get them in, fly them all over, they're in your town, they're landing here, there, and everywhere else. And yet, we have pedophiles in this country. We register them, we monitor them, we tell them where they can live, how far from a school they can live, how far from any kind of camp. But if you're illegal, if you're an MS-13 Latin King, we don't care. But I know what it takes to be a member of MS-13. And in 2014, we had something like 150,000 people who crossed the border. I'm moving over here because that's blocking you, I think. Or I can't look at you. Maybe you can look at me. I don't know. 2014, 150,000 young people came from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. I speak to people on the border. Border Patrol agents. And they call me because they know what I believe in. And they said, we are letting in MS-13 members. They've got all the tats. They've got everything. And so we try to stop them, and leadership says we can't stop them. So we invite them in, MS-13, and in New York, we are suffering, especially on Long Island. Two young girls, one of whom apparently had an argument with someone in MS-13 on Facebook. Nothing more. She's walking home from school with a girlfriend. MS-13, illegals, they come here and they beat them to death with a baseball bat with that beyond recognition. Even their teeth were destroyed. The dentist here, I know, I saw. Anyway, I know this. I prosecuted these cases. In order to be a member of MS-13, you need to kill someone in front of another member. You need to rape a woman and then kill her in front of another member. This is who we have walking around this country right now. Compound it with sanctuary cities and are you a sanctuary city? Oh, you will be with this guy McCarthy. What a jerk. Who elects a guy who says, I'm going to raise your taxes? Who does that? It's just contraindicated. It's unfathomable to me. Murphy. Right, Murphy. Sorry, Murphy. All right. I was for Guadagno. I was for the other one, but that's another story. So I was in California. I came back Sunday night. California's a sanctuary state. So I was doing like a street justice, and I said, well, what do you think? You're a sanctuary state. Oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You know, do you like being a sanctuary state? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's a sanctuary state? No idea. No idea. They have no idea. It's this benign-sounding term where I think of medieval times. You know, you're some kind of like a Robin Hood, and you need sanctuary, and the monk lets you in, and nobody ever finds you again. I mean, that's what I think of anyway. But this benign-sounding term is malignant. It is malignant. We are in this country today, and this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about where we're going. You did a great job in 2016, 93,000 votes, victory margin, but that's nothing. If you worked hard for that, you have to work harder in 2018. You have to work twice as much, triple times as much. You have to get creative. You have to figure out how to get people to vote. How you get the older people to vote, how you get the younger kids to vote. Because trust me, they are militant and geared up for this election. And George Soros and everyone like him who supports this globalist agenda, progressive socialism, which they think is some kind of a nirvana, is on its way. Make no mistake about it. In a sanctuary city, state, or county, we protect the illegal criminal who has committed a crime and for whom there's a want. So who do we put at risk? The American citizen. The American citizen is victim. This is how it happens. So I'm the DA, right? So we have a guy who's about to come out of jail, and another jurisdiction calls and says, we want your guy, when's he getting out of jail? So the guys in my office would say, okay, he's going to get out on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. All right, we're going to come get him. We've got a warrant for him. Okay, that's how law enforcement works. I don't care if you're from another state, another county, another city. It doesn't matter. No problem. Now, if ICE calls, border enforcement, they call and they say, we have a warrant on the guy who's in your jail. We're going to come and get him. When is he getting out? We know his time is up soon. He's getting out Tuesday at 3 o'clock. In a sanctuary city or state, they would say, maybe they'd say Tuesday at 3 o'clock, but if they know that anyone's coming for this person who's getting out of jail, that's what's happening. He served his time on whatever other crime he's committed. What they'll say is, let them out the back door, let them out the side door. You know, ICE is coming, the warrant squad is coming. Let them out a day early. Don't tell anyone. So then what happens is, the illegal criminal for whom there is a want is living in this jurisdiction, and when ICE comes in looking for him, ICE is in more danger because the local police cannot work with that. That's what the point is. You cannot work with ICE. You cannot cooperate with ICE. You are not allowed. You will lose your job. What happened to law enforcement in America? What happened to the concept of right and wrong? Who are these people? Why do they want to do this to this country? You know, my father was a veteran in World War II. He was on the first ship to Nagasaki. He was in the Navy, and he saw Navy. Thank you. My dad, rest in peace. He died at a very young age. He saw the plume, okay? He died of head and neck cancer at a very young age. This is what Americans do for each other. They go to war and they come back. They fight for us. But everything seems to be tumbling right now. And the hatred and the disrespect for America, American citizens, and what we stand for is applauded. When we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance, I couldn't help but think of this guy, Colin Kaepernick. Now, I don't know that much about football, but he wasn't so great to begin with. All right? And in the end, what we have is this guy, 2 years later, they figure, oh, now we got to make him a hero. They got some PR team that said, let's wrap him up this way. They market him now as a guy who's out there for social justice. Did the guy ever vote? Did he ever call a congressman or a congresswoman? Did he ever get in touch with the school board? Did he ever go to work with victims? Did he ever serve on a jury? Did he ever do any of that stuff? Did he ever articulate what he's fighting? No. He just disrespects the flag. The very flag that my father and so many of you and family members went and put your lives out there for. So many people come back to this country with fewer limbs than they left here with, and this dirtbag who's making multi-millions is now repackaged as a hero. Just do it. Well, I got an idea. Don't do it. Don't do anything that they're doing. Now, football is great, but if you're going to allow them to take a knee, you know what? Football franchise is suffering. The numbers are down on television. You know what? They ruined it. What does taking a knee mean? What does that mean? I don't even know what it means. First, I thought they were kneeling to it. I'm Catholic. I thought, it was like a maybe what? I don't know. Who are these people? I could go on and on. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is this. Donald Trump fights every day for all of us. There has never been as much pushback as we are seeing in this country. I know him. I've known him for over 25 years. My then husband was his lawyer. We used to fly to Palm Beach with him every weekend. He's a great guy. That's why I support him. I've seen him. I've seen him with his kids. And I've said this a million times. And it's in my book, if you got the book. The proof is in the pudding. If you want to know the man, look at those kids. Never had a problem with drugs or alcohol or domestic violence or a run-in of any kind with the law. They work as hard as he does, and they are honorable kids. This is a man who pushes back for us. The economy, GDP 4.2. With the other bozo, 1% GDP was considered the new normal. We now have more jobs than people to fill them. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the fact that there are more African Americans employed than ever in the history of this country? You tell me, Colin Kaepernick. You tell me what's wrong with more Hispanics working than ever before in this country.
You got Colin a job.
The animal spirits, like through the roof. Consumer confidence. tax reform, tax cuts. And you know what? When you look at Obama, this guy couldn't figure out what ISIS was. It was a JV team. He didn't know whether to contain it, dismantle it, or defeat it. Destroy it, I think was his name. None of which he did. He couldn't figure it out for his life. The ISIS caliphate is defeated in the Middle East. That's it. You unleash the generals, you let them do what they do best, and we are protected. But my concern is ultimately for what all of us want. We want to be able to make a living, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, put food on the table, put our kids through school, and maybe have a little bit more to enjoy the dream that is America. I'm telling you right now, socialism, to me, is a dangerous word. When you meet someone from Eastern Europe, you meet someone from countries where they've lived under socialism, with that idea that the government owns everything. I knew who Barack was his first year when he said something like, you're talking about tax cuts, I think it was, and he said, you know, at some point, 250,000 is enough. And I remember saying to myself, Jeanine, what is that about? He's saying like that's the most you should be. I mean, I don't care what you make, but if you want to make more than that, what's wrong with that? But then again, it's the same guy at a prayer breakfast, you know, who got up and said right after the beheadings of Sotloff and Foley, he gets up and he says, all you Christians, get off your high horse. As if it's our turn. Terrible deeds were committed in the name of Christ. The Jim Crow laws were enacted in the name of Christ. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Who are you? Now we know what they want. Ocasio-Cortez took down Joe Crowley in New York, Queens, great guy, powerful Democrat. And when you think about it, if it weren't for corrupt Hillary, I'm not even going there. If she didn't rig the DNC, we would have had a socialist, Bernie Sanders, running for president as a Democrat. He admitted he was a socialist. That's what they want. We don't want socialism. I'm sorry. I'm tired of working for everybody. I'm tired of this much being taken out of my salary. I don't want to tell you how many months I have to go into before I can even reach into my salary. I'm not crying. I mean, I work like a dog. I do. And you know what? Thank God I can. Thank God I have the ability to do and say what I want. And you mark my word. You mark my word, I have been saying this for 6 years. Your First Amendment is in jeopardy. Free speech. I'm not even talking about freedom of religion. Look, they took the Little Sisters of the Poor to the United States Supreme Court. These sisters have a vow of poverty. They're taking care of people who are dying, and Eric Holder and Barack Obama want to take them up to the Supreme Court because they said under Obamacare it's against our religion to provide abortifacients for our employees. It's against our religion. We don't believe in abortion. Why should we have to, as part of the insurance, give employees the ability to get abortions? Barack Obama said, I don't care. Took them all the way up to the Supreme Court. Freedom of religion was in jeopardy then, and it will be again if we lose. It will be. Free speech right now. Do you know what's going on with Twitter and Google and Facebook? You know, I haven't done anything on my show Justice, but I think I'm going to start. What they're doing is they're censoring free speech. Immigration Studies wrote I don't know, something about illegal alien. Twitter shut it down. And they said, we're not going to allow that to be out there because it is hateful speech. It doesn't matter if it's hateful speech. We have a First Amendment, free speech. The United States Supreme Court has said you can say whatever you want. That's the First Amendment. Freedom of speech. That's why we're here. That's why America was founded. Hate speech is allowed. That's the whole point of free speech. That's why cases go to the Supreme Court. It's not only speech that everyone agrees with is allowed. You say something that we consider hateful and not true, then we're going to shut you down. I'm telling you, as sure as I'm standing here, that's the next step. You are not allowed to say things that they don't like or use terms that they don't like. And I said this 5 years ago when Hillary Clinton was a Secretary of State and she signed on to UN resolution. I don't remember the number, but I'll get it. UN resolution where they agreed they made the United States a member nation with the UN as one of those nations that would prosecute hateful speech. Let me tell you what hateful speech is in the UN. If you criticize Muhammad, if you say anything against Islam, that's hate speech. But hey, you go behead an American who's a Christian, no problem. Get off your high horse. If it weren't so deadly serious, it would be funny. We have a lot of trouble. That's why I fight. That's why I wrote the book. I believe in America. I believe in what it stands for. I'm a believer. That's why I ran for office 5 times. That's why I was a prosecutor, a judge, and a DA. I believe in the system. Maybe I'm stupid, I don't know. But I believe in the system. I believe in God. I believe in the flag. I believe in things that are important to me and that have been protected from the beginning. But you look at the Department of Justice, you look at the FBI, you look at people getting away from crimes, there's not one system of justice for all. There isn't. There are 2 systems. But I used to say to juries all the time, no one is above the law, and no one is beneath it. But that seems what's happening. Last week I spoke at the Reagan Library, and I'm going to end it with a quote from Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than 1 generation away from extinction. We don't pass it to our children and grandchildren through the bloodstream. I say the DNA. It must be fought for. It must be protected at every generation, or we will lose it. He was so right. And I got to tell you one more thing. I was at the Nixon Library last week too. I didn't know. You know, I was in law school when Nixon, he wasn't impeached. I mean, but they had the votes to impeach him in the House and the Senate. And, you know, just a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He did some incredible things. And one of the quotes that they had, I was reading some of his stuff. I don't have it exactly. He said, the press is the enemy, the establishment is the enemy, professors in colleges are the enemy. I couldn't believe it. I had chills. I said, he said that? It's going to keep happening unless you stop it. And that's why I came tonight. I want to thank you for all you did in 2016, and I want to thank you ahead of time for what you're going to do in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to take a few questions. I'm going to put a mic.
We have mics out in the audience.
All right.
Oh, you do? Gar, you all. Just in case.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
What's the question? Come on. Jim Burns.
Jim Burns, Berkeley Township. As a disabled vet, the vets here, we appreciate, we really feel for what your father, and I'm proud, I'm sure he's proud where he is in heaven of what his daughter is doing.
Breaks my heart.
You're doing something. Just this morning, I turned on the other channel because all I have is rabbit ears on my trailer, and that's what we can get down here. But there was a gentleman, for another word, he looks like an owl, and he was on that show this morning. Guy with glasses, I don't even know what the hell his name was, but he said the worst thing I've heard, and I could listen to you for 3 days, and we'd never stop between Hillary and Colin and all the other assholes. But the problem was, this guy said, and they were all serious, the whole panel, that Donald Trump, on the eve of destruction, to the Carolinas, this guy said that Donald Trump did not care about Puerto Rico because the 3,000 people that died were not white. That is sick. And they were serious. And they went on and on and on. How do we get the message out?
Look,
These people are listening to this and it's insanity on the eve of destruction coming to this country.
it is.
Thank
it
you
is-
for what you're doing. God
No,
bless.
thank you for what you did. God bless you.
I'm done.
Yeah, everybody thinks the same way. I say to myself, am I crazy? Like, I know I'm crazy, but am I really crazy when you listen to these people? They say the most inane, insane things. They're different, and we weren't like this. I mean, even the 60s, as bad as they were, was nothing like this. This is after 8 years of Barack Obama. He brought in if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these alleged asylum seekers, of these alleged refugees, of these alleged, whatever. He brought them in. We didn't know anything about it, and the press never pushed back. I think Puerto Rico in itself, if you have half a brain, you would know, not you, but anyone listening, is the reason that they didn't come back is because they had a third world balkanized grid system. They weren't prepared, it was corrupt, and they couldn't get themselves out of the mess. And we came in and helped them. And you know what? I am so sorry for their loss. All of us are. But now you want to blame this on Donald Trump? They will blame, and look, Russia collusion. Have you heard one iota of evidence of Russia collusion? This Adam Schiff, every 3 seconds, the guy's running it in front of a camera. There's evidence of collusion, there's evidence. What evidence? I was a DA. If I did 22 months and said, I got the evidence, it's coming, I mean, they would have lynched me in the village square. I mean, this is not the way America is. But they framed him. They tried to drag a corrupt criminal hag across the 2016 presidential finish line, and when they couldn't do it, is amoral. Not just immoral, she's amoral. This woman's whole job and life has been to get herself to the presidency. And I guess the only satisfaction we have is that she didn't make it.
Why is it that Trump has been in office less than 2 years and you see nothing on TV about him defeating ISIS, which practically almost completely eliminated? Why don't you hear this on the news? It's really a shame what they've done to him.
They are blocking all of the good stories, and I do it in my book. I talk about this. Anything positive about Trump, they stop. They will block anything good that he does. So whether it's, the economy or ISIS, or I got a better one for you. Molly Tibbetts. Remember the girl who was missing in Iowa? Every day, Molly Tibbetts, the father, the boyfriend, we're looking, they're doing this, they're looking that. Every day it's front and center, and I get it. I did this for a living, okay? An illegal kills her, it's off the front page. Not only is it off the front page, which speaks to the collusion. You want to talk collusion? Let's talk about the collusion between the mainstream media and the Democrats and anti-American establishment. It is the media that covers it up. And so the father starts complaining that we're being racist. Hey, wait a minute. I understand this is the worst grief any father could possibly imagine. The death of a daughter, brutal also. But you don't want me to talk about it? Do you not think that but for his being here, she would not be dead? There's a thing in law school we learn. But for X, this wouldn't happen. So X caused it. The old but for it's the media is in cahoots. And let me tell you one more thing. before he ran for president, the media contacted him. Everybody loved him. He was in every magazine, every newspaper article, cameos in movies. They loved him. The sports figure loved him. The singers, the movie stars, everybody loved Donald Trump. And then he had the goal to run for president and put an R after his name, and then he became public enemy #1. It's the media.
Some more questions, and that's it. Sir.
Judge, you continue with the conclusion. You forgot to mention the FBI. Now, the FBI, it just came out where they're colluding or had colluded with media to give them, this is the best part, they gave them false stories about Trump. Then the same FBI who presented the false stories used those same stories as reason to investigate Donald Trump. My question to you is this. As you know, a few days ago, Peter Strzok, they just released some new emails where they had a strategy, a media strategy, and that's going to be investigated. For over a year now, we've heard nothing but this problem that the FBI has had at the very top. When will we see some convictions? Thank you.
Is Hillary in jail yet?
This is my wheelhouse, and I know a con when I see it. The Clinton Foundation is nothing more than an organized criminal enterprise parading as a charity. The FBI under James Comey, and I know James Comey, I worked with him. He was the United States Attorney in the office next to mine when I was the elected district attorney. We did cases together. He is smart, he is quick, he knows exactly what he's doing. And when he stood up at the podium on July 5th of 2016 and said no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute Hillary Clinton, that's when I knew the fix was in. But I knew the fix was in before, and I'll tell you when. And I'm going to get to Peter Strzok in 2 seconds. Hillary Clinton, on this personal server that she created with Uma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, who was a lawyer for Bill Clinton during the Clinton impeachment and who was a pit bull, okay? They were all on that server so that they could conduct State Department business, where American foreign policy ran parallel to contributions to the foundation, all right? That's what the FBI was doing. Jim Comey stood in the steps of the United States Attorney General. He's the FBI. If a cop brings me a case, I decide. I'm the DA. I decide. Who the hell are you to get up and tell America what the U.S. Attorney or the Attorney General should do? But then what he said was so outside the guidelines. You cannot talk about an investigation. You cannot talk about whether there was evidence sufficient or close or not enough. It is against everything that any FBI agent knows. And I talked to a lot of them. I worked with them for 30 years, okay? They violated every rule, and they're laughing at us. They are laughing at us. And what struck this dirtbag when this guy got up in front of Congress and stared everyone down and basically said, "Don't believe your lying eyes." Are you kidding me? You say to Trey Gowdy, I'm not going to tell you whether there was any investigation prior to July 31 by the FBI of 2016, when Strzok was the one who started the counterintelligence investigation. All right? I'm not going to tell you because the FBI won't let me tell you. There are certain restrictions. BS. 5 hours later, Trey Gowdy comes back, he says, well, just found out that the FBI has no problem with your answering the question. Which stunned me, because I'm no fan of Christopher Wray at all. But they say now, what information did you have before July 31 of 2016 that would lead you to the investigation, counterintelligence investigation? I don't remember. That's what they say. They lie. He'll lie again. with his gumad there, Lisa Page. He said, you know what? I said, is he going to win for president? And he says, we'll stop it. He's in front of Congress, swearing to tell the truth. He says, it wasn't we, as in the FBI, it was the American people. Hey, idiot, who told you to speak for the American people? That's what's so crazy about it. And he'll tell us that these leaks, that they were investigating the leaks. I'm not stupid. You were leaking the information. Jim Comey told Andrew McCabe to leak. That's why the Inspector General, Horowitz, said that McCabe made a criminal referral. And McCabe said, no, Comey told me to leak. But anyway, he leaked. That we know. Which is illegal. It is against the rules. They're not supposed to do it, especially if they're trying to frame a guy who's running for president. And then you've got Comey lying to Congress. You've got Andrew McCabe. Peter Strzok has lied more than I can. I mean, if I wasted my time going through the lies, it's the upper echelon. And the FBI is great. It's Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Baker, Bickey. There's another guy that you haven't heard of, Bill Priestap. It'll all come out in the wash. Bruce Orr, his wife works for the agency that Hillary Clinton directed money to a law firm to that agency to create a fake dossier saying that the prostitutes are peeing on Donald Trump and the Russians would be able to blackmail him, and that was the basis of it. You know, it's no different than the Martians were peeing on Donald Trump. I mean, come on. They knew it was absurd. She paid for it. This is the United States. For this country, the revered nation that we live in, to be held hostage by these pigs is not only disgusting, but it tells you how strong the deep state is in the United States of America. And every day Donald Trump fights it, and every day they say collusion, collusion, collusion. It's sad. It really is.
Last question.
What?
We haven't had a
I was going to say, as an insult to our veterans, one of the senators on that committee offered him or said, you deserve a Medal of Honor.
I know.
And that's such an insult to our veterans.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Purple Heart.
Woman in the back. Woman in the back. Raise your hand.
Last one.
Thanks for coming, Judge.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
One thing that's kind of made me a little bit crazy was Barack Obama blamed George Bush for everything. For 8 years, he was dealing with a mess from the previous administration. But as soon as the new administration is in there, Donald Trump, he's taking credit for everything. It's amazing how that works. I'd love to hear your view on that.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I totally agree with it. In the end, what we have is a guy who is selling information to people who believe it. There are some people who think, because they hear it, that Donald Trump is a racist and a fascist, but they don't even know what fascism is. Fascism is when you only allow one way of thinking and no other way of thinking is allowed. And they call him a fascist. They try to shut us down, whether it's going to Berkeley, Milo Yiannopoulos, or anywhere else. They would rather assault us than allow us to speak. That is true fascism. And